When we finally had the money to move up, Michael and I'm Anastasia, found ourselves drawn to Blueberry Way, a quiet cul-de-sac with 10 houses. The numbering followed the traditional English pattern, with odd numbers on the left and evens on the right. That meant our place, number 9, was the last one on the left. The backyard sloped gently down toward the river, stopping at a small fence. There wasn't much of a riverbank, not exactly ideal for families with little kids, but that suited us just fine since we didn't have any. Across the road, number 10 was also up for sale. It was a bit cheaper than ours, with a smaller backyard, but we had to have number 9, because, well, 9's my lucky number. The house needed some work, but at least the most expensive job, the electrical rewiring, was already done. I had just landed 2 new contracts, and the commissions were sitting safely in the bank. Other than the occasional midweek trip, I worked from home, which gave me plenty of time to redecorate. As winter set in, we slowly started getting the place together. We decided on underfloor heating, and I handled most of the DIY work, except plumbing. Michael, on the other hand, was great with a paintbrush. She painted a mural on one of the living room walls, so stunning we joked it was more entertaining than the TV. One frosty December morning, Michael was running a little late for work. I grabbed her Renault keys, took a kettle of warm water, just warm, not too hot, and poured it over the windshield, then the rest of the windows. After that, I started the engine, cranked the heater to full blast, and cleared the windshield with a squeegee. It made me smile to notice that Michael's office was exactly 9 miles away, and that morning the odometer read 9.8 miles. Not that it mattered, of course, it just caught my attention. With her using the car for errands and weekend trips, it wasn't often the mileage lined up neatly like that. Probably wouldn't happen again until the new year. When the odometer hit 9,036 miles, I couldn't help but check, just the kind of detail-obsessed person I am. "Thanks for warming up my car, sweetheart," Michael said, grabbing her bag. "So, what's today's house project?" "The last one I've been putting off, the cupboard under the stairs," I admitted. "Not really sure what to do with it. Maybe I'll just paint the inside white." "Well, good luck with that. Oh, and if you have time, see if you can pick up a tree. We'll decorate it this weekend," she said, already halfway out the door. After she left, I poured myself another cup of coffee and opened the cupboard door. It was just a small, plain space, sloping downward as it followed the shape of the stairs. The back wall met the floor at a 45-degree angle, ending right under the 3rd step from the bottom. That last section was completely blocked off, too small to be useful for anything. We had finished unpacking ages ago, and I had no idea what we'd actually use this space for. There was already a coat closet near the front door, so we didn't need it for that. I supposed we could have stored a fake Christmas tree in there, but Michael had her heart set on a real one. After the holidays, we'd probably try planting it in the backyard. Sometimes they actually survive. Something about the inside of the cupboard looked off. Just inside the door, a hook hung from the wall. We had recently reopened the fireplace, not so much for warmth, but for the cozy ambience of a real fire. On the hearth, there was a set of fire tongs, and this hook under the stairs had a handle that looked almost exactly like the poker, except the end was bent over. I had no clue what it was for, but I hesitated to toss it. You never know when something might come in handy. Then there was the floor. It was made of smooth pine boards, which stood out because the rest of the hallway was covered in granite tiles. An old welcome mat lay on top, probably one that had been at the front door for years. Someone had decided to keep it, but why would you need a doormat inside a walk-in cupboard? The whole setup didn't make much sense. And then, at the very top of the sloped paneling, I noticed something else, a small, round metal stud about the size of a 50-cent piece. What on earth was that for? It was time to take action. I stood up, grabbed the hook off the wall, and in the process, accidentally knocked over my coffee. I jumped back, dropping the hook as I cursed under my breath. Running to the kitchen, I grabbed a cloth, but by the time I got back, most of the coffee was gone. All that remained was my Homer Simpson mug lying on its side. I wiped the damp spot, but oddly, it barely made the cloth wet. That's when I realized the hook was missing. I hadn't even heard it hit the floor. I glanced around, then lifted the wet mat, and suddenly, everything made sense. There was a small hole in the floor right next to the mat. Beside it, a second metal stud. Looking up, I spotted my hook. It was hanging from the upper stud. That meant it had to be magnetic. And these floorboards? They weren't nailed down. They were just resting on some kind of frame. The hook was clearly designed to fit into the hole, so I gave it a try. As I pulled, the entire floor lifted, and sure enough, the magnetic studs clicked together, holding it in place. Beneath it, a concrete staircase led downward. The top few steps were now streaked with coffee. I wiped them down, then took the cloth back to the kitchen and grabbed a flashlight. At the bottom of the stairs, there was an old, warped door. It was locked, but the key was hanging on a nail beside it. Heart pounding with anticipation, I unlocked the door and stepped inside. It was a basement, of course. Completely empty, with no sign of pests. It stretched directly under our long kitchen dining area, taking up about a third of the house's footprint. When I told Michael, she was thrilled, especially at the thought of how much this secret basement could increase the value of our home. The previous owner must have just tossed junk into the understairs cupboard and never realized there was a hidden floor beneath. It definitely hadn't been mentioned when we toured the house. While we debated what to do with the space, I went ahead and got a quote for extending our underfloor. We were already thinking about adding heating and installing some lighting down there. That evening, when I stepped out for a drink at the pub, I couldn't resist checking the mileage on Michael's Renault. Sure enough, 9,036 miles. Sometimes, even I annoy myself. The next day, I had a specialist come by to inspect the basement. He confirmed it was dry, free from rot or moisture, just very cold. One downside? No cell phone reception. Looking into the original blueprints from the 1960s, we discovered that every house on Blueberry Way was supposed to have a basement. But according to the notes, they had been scrapped from the plans because of the cost. Ours, tucked in the corner of the cul-de-sac, had been the first house built, and apparently the only one that actually got one. Will the existing boiler be able to handle the extra space? I asked the contractor. Shouldn't be a problem, he assured me. Your heating system is zoned. I'll add another thermostat and timer down there. Just make sure you only heat the rooms you're actually using. For example, set the upstairs heat to shut off around 7 a.m. and keep the doors closed in any unused rooms. The only way you'd run into trouble is if you tried to keep the entire house cranked up to maximum temperature all the time. I told him to put together a quote, and I'd get back to him in a day or so. He promised he could have everything finished before the holidays. The following Tuesday, I had to travel for work. Where to this time? Michael asked. That company up in Liverpool, I said. Taking the train tomorrow morning, then heading straight to the hotel. The meeting's at their offices Wednesday morning, and I'll be back that night. Are you driving to the station? She asked. Yeah, I confirmed. Good, then I can park my car in the garage, she said. While I'm gone, you should think about what we might want to do with our extra room, I suggested. I'll think about it, she said, then shivered. But I'm not going down there. It's way too damn cold. Tuesday morning was another icy one, so I did my usual warm water trick for her windshield. 9,124 miles. At the door, Michael gave me an extra affectionate kiss. Make sure you call me when you get to the hotel, sweetheart, so I know you made it there safe, she said softly. Of course, I promised. She drove off to work, and I grabbed my small overnight bag, tossed it onto the passenger seat of my Audi, and backed out of the driveway. With a press of the remote, I closed the garage door behind me. Michael had the other remote. When I got home Wednesday night, I was greeted with a warm welcome. How'd the meeting go? Michael asked. Better than expected, I said. They signed on for another 2 years. No push for a discount either. We can finally afford one of those trips we talked about next summer. You wanted the Seychelles, and I was thinking Prague, then maybe the Dalmatian coast. I'll grab some travel brochures tomorrow, she squealed with excitement. I smiled, hoping she'd settle for Prague. Thursday morning, it was freezing again, so I went out with the kettle to defrost her car. As I stood there, waiting for the ice to melt, I noticed something. Our neighbors at number 10 had strung Christmas lights all over the front of their house. And right then, at that exact moment, something didn't sit right. If there was a single point where the first little worm of doubt started wriggling in my mind, that was it. The odometer. By my calculations, it should have added 4 9-mile trips, bringing it to at least 9,160 miles. Probably more if she'd made any stops for dinner or shopping. But instead, it showed 9,142. That was only 2 trips. 1 to work, 1 home. Had she gotten a ride from someone yesterday? I knew she'd been at work. I had called her on her office phone. Casually, I asked, "Everything fine with your car while I was gone?" "Yeah, no problems," she said. "Yesterday or Wednesday? It got you to work both days?" I pressed. "Of course." "Why?" I hesitated. "Thought I heard a little knocking sound when you pulled out just now. Maybe it's just the cold." "No, it's been running fine all week," she insisted. "Probably just my imagination then," I murmured. I let it go. Or at least, I told myself I did. But deep down, I knew I hadn't. Sitting at my desk, staring at my computer screen, I couldn't shake the thought. Had my wife spent the night somewhere else? Was she cheating on me? It didn't take long to find what I was looking for, an app that could track her phone. That night, while she was in the shower, I borrowed her phone and plugged it into my computer. A few minutes later, I put it back exactly where it had been, still charging. From that moment on, I had full access. I could read her messages, check her calls, even track her location, all from my laptop or my own phone. After she went to bed, I started digging. First, I checked the location history. She had gone to work on Tuesday, but she hadn't come home that night. Instead, her phone had been in another part of the city, all night. Meanwhile, her car had stayed parked at work. It had only returned home the following evening, which explained why the odometer showed only 18 miles instead of the expected 36. Logically, there was only one explanation. She must have gone to a co-worker's house and stayed over. And it had to have been planned. She hadn't come home to grab clothes, which meant she had packed a bag in advance. Could it have been an innocent visit to a female friend? Sure. But then why lie about the car? She knew I'd be gone all night. If this was an affair, why not just bring him here? Unless she couldn't. On Sunday, while she was busy, I dug deeper, this time into her messages. And there it was. She was having an affair. With her boss. I'd met the guy a couple of times. Overweight, balding, not exactly what I'd call competition. But the messages told a different story. He was expecting a promotion in the new year, moving up to a director-level position. And with that, he'd be entitled to a personal assistant. He could either hire a new one, or promote Michael. Spending the night with him? Well, that certainly wouldn't hurt her chances. And yet, something in the messages stood out. She was hesitant about bringing him here. Almost uncomfortable with the idea of being intimate in our house. She didn't want to bring him here, to our bed. She was worried I might come home early. If that happened, she figured she could cover for herself, say she'd crashed at a girlfriend's place. But if I walked in and found her tangled up with her boss? That would take a hell of a lot more explaining. Then, suddenly, her phone rang. I listened. "I won't be in tomorrow, Michael," her boss said. "Think I've caught the flu." "Well, I hope you didn't pass it on to me," she replied. "Could've. I started feeling sniffly Tuesday night," he admitted. "We need to be more careful," she warned. "Why?" he chuckled. "Catching the flu isn't exactly proof of an affair." "No, not that," she said quickly. "This morning, Anastasia was asking about my car. No idea why. It's probably nothing, just me being paranoid." "You have a garage," he reminded her. "It's not like the neighbors would have noticed your car was gone for one night." "Yeah, you're right. I'm just being overly cautious," she agreed. "Look, I'm not exactly tech-savvy," he said, "but can't you get one of those tracking apps? Find my phone or something. That way, you could keep tabs on him too." "Good idea," she said. "I'd feel a lot safer knowing where he is all the time. I'm not great with that kind of stuff either, but I'm sure I can get someone to help me set it up." Smart move. but not smart enough. Because I had already thought of it first. Over the next week, I played it cool. Acted completely normal. She and her boss kept things quiet on the phone. Whatever was happening at work, I had no way of knowing. But as far as I could tell, they were only getting together when I was out of town. Meanwhile, the basement was coming along nicely. The heating was installed, and we treated ourselves to some early Christmas presents, a big TV and a DVD player. Some nights, Michael and I would go down there to watch a movie. We furnished it with 2 sofas and a low table, making the space feel warm and comfortable. Now that we had the extra room, we didn't have to compromise on the Christmas tree, either. The real one stood in the living room, and I picked up a bright, artificial tree for the basement. We also replaced the old basement door with a heavy-duty steel one, set in a steel frame. For now, we'd make do with it opening outward. I told Michael we'd swap it out for a proper one in January. Friday night, everything was finally finished. As soon as she saw the door, Michael raised an eyebrow. "Why a metal one?" she asked. "It's better for the house's structure. Helps support the floor above," I told her. She nodded. "I see. Total nonsense, of course. But it opens outward," she pointed out. "And it's got a Yale lock. If we forget the key, we could get stuck down here. It even has a letterbox." "The opening is an unusual size," I said, keeping my story straight. "So the contractor has to get one custom-made. I wanted the room ready before Christmas, so he loaned us this old front door as a temporary fix. He accidentally installed it the wrong way, but it's fine. We'll swap it for the real one in January." She still looked unsure. "Don't worry, we can't get locked in," I reassured her. "We each carry a spare key with our regular ones, and I've hung a third one on the hook just inside the basement door. Don't move it, it's just for emergencies." "Oh, okay then," she said, finally relaxing. She glanced around. "I love the low lighting, very romantic," she added approvingly. "I thought so too," I said. "And with the curtains across that far wall, it makes the room feel even cozier. With the second Christmas tree lit up in front of them, you can almost imagine there's a window back there." "I noticed, it's really warm down here," she said, pleased. "I've ordered 2 rugs, they should be here in January. But for now, the room's ready to use," I told her. She nodded in agreement. "Hey, I'm heading up to Edinburgh next Tuesday," I said. "Do me a favor. Pop down here now and then to check the temperature. I'm keeping the heating on low every night so the plaster and paint dry properly." "Of course, no problem," she said. "This Scottish deal could be my biggest one yet," I continued. "If I land it, we can take a 3 or 4 week vacation next summer. If your boss is willing to give you the time off, we could go to the Seychelles, or Eastern Europe, if you'd rather." She grinned. "Wow. I think I might be able to persuade him," she said. Michael flashed me a smile. "Yeah, I think I can make that happen." "One last thing," I added casually. "Since it's almost Christmas, I figured I'd visit my mom for a few days while I'm in Edinburgh. She's just across the bridge in Dunfermline." "Good idea," she said. "And when I get back, we can put down the new rugs, add some throw pillows, and break in the sofas properly," I said with a grin. "Both of them? I can't wait," she laughed. "Michael and my mom never really got along. Funny enough, my mom had always said she seemed a little unreliable. At the time, I chalked it up to the usual no one is good enough for my son thing. But now I wondered, had she seen something I had missed? Either way, a visit before Christmas would be nice. Especially since I didn't actually have any meetings in Scotland. And I sure as hell had no plans to take her to the Seychelles. That night, Michael stepped outside briefly to grab something from her car. I had been waiting for the moment. As soon as she was gone, I checked my computer. There it was. Her message to him. "Tuesday night at my place?" she asked. "We can break in the new sofas in our basement. The renovation's done." "So you've gotten over your hesitation about doing it at home?" her boss replied. "Yeah, this time I have," she confirmed. "It's not a problem anymore. I know exactly where he is at all times. But I still won't do it in our bed." Tuesday, then. Sounds perfect, he agreed. I'll bring you an early Christmas present, but you have to unwrap it with your teeth. Can't wait, she giggled. Just don't leave your car at the office, he warned. After work, I'll follow you home. Leave your car there and hop in mine. I'll drive us straight into my garage. No one will see you come inside. Stay the night, and I'll drop you back at work in the morning. Yours, Wednesday morning? She asked. Sounds like a plan, he replied. How long is he gone? A few days. Probably till the weekend, she said. He's off visiting his miserable old cow of a mother. So I can stay over more than once? He suggested. You'd better, she purred. I want to be thoroughly exhausted before Santa comes. Perfect. After I give you your present, walking is gonna be a challenge, he bragged. She laughed. Sounds more like your Christmas present. You'll get everything you want, he promised. So let's agree on your new pay scale now. I know there are 2 entry levels. Just pick the higher one. I have plenty of experience to justify it. I already checked. The higher rate is at my discretion, he replied. But there's still one last piece of experience you need. Oh, and what's that? She asked playfully. I thought we'd already checked everything off your bucket list. He grinned slyly. I've always liked the idea of being taken care of afterward. You're naughty, she gasped. So will you do it? He pressed. If you're good, she teased. Don't worry. I will be, he promised. That Saturday, I drove over to see my tech-savvy friend, Darren. The guy was always strapped for cash, so I had a little proposition for him. First, he confirmed what I already suspected. Michael had installed a tracking app on my phone. I leaned back in my chair. You've usually got time on your hands, I said. And you like doing odd jobs for me, especially when there's cash involved, right? Correct. And I'm real broke right now, Darren admitted. So, anything that isn't murder? I'm in. I smirked. No need for murder. I'll handle that myself. It went right over his head. Here's the deal, I said. Tuesday morning, I'll pick you up and drop you at the train station. You take the train to Edinburgh and bring my phone with you. When you get to Waverley Station, send the pre-written message I'll give you. Meanwhile, you get 2 nights at the Karen Hotel and get to sample the. You get to enjoy the nightlife, do some Christmas shopping, and take the train back Thursday afternoon. No questions asked, I said, laying out the plan. Edinburgh? That's hours away, Darren protested. Exactly, I confirmed. If something goes wrong and I can't meet you, just drop my phone off at Waverley Station's Lost and Found before you head back. But if everything goes as planned, I'll join you on Wednesday. You'll give me my phone back, and I'll buy you enough drinks to make it worth your while. All right, how much? He asked. Tickets and hotel are already covered on my credit card. Taxis, food, and spending money. Let's say $200 now, and another $200 when the job's done. Deal, he agreed without hesitation. On the way home, I stopped and had 2 more front door keys made. All of Monday, I felt like I was holding my breath. Tuesday morning, I went through the usual routine, warming up Michael's car. This time, I didn't bother checking the odometer. That was just a stupid habit, anyway. While she was in the bathroom brushing her teeth, I quietly opened her handbag and swapped out her basement key for a new front door key. Then I replaced the spare key behind the door with another front door key instead. Yale keys all look the same, don't they? After she left for work, I drove Darren to the station, made sure he was on his way, and then checked into a nearby hotel. By the time it got dark, just after 4 o'clock, I was back on Blueberry Way. At 4:30, I stepped inside the house. If anyone saw me, they wouldn't think anything of it. The heating had just kicked on. I left a message on my old dictaphone. It was battery-operated and had plenty of charge to play back multiple times. I slipped it into my pocket and headed for the basement. Michael had already picked out a movie for the night. A special one, meant to get them in the mood. Everything was in place. The wrong keys were right where they needed to be. The house was warm and inviting. And my phone? Well, as far as she knew, It was in Edinburgh. Now, I just had to wait. I sat in my home office. Michael never went in there. My computer screen was open, tracking her phone. I watched as a new message popped up on her screen, one from me. "Hey babe, made it to Edinburgh safe. I'll call around 10 p.m. from the hotel. Love you." Meanwhile, I tracked her phone, watching as she left work and drove straight to her boss's house. I thought back to when this all started, the moment I first got suspicious. That tiny inconsistency on her odometer had been the first clue. And now, this was the moment. The one where everything could fall apart. What if they stayed there? I knew the plan was for them to come back here, but plans change. She sat there for what felt like forever. Maybe he was grabbing an overnight bag. Maybe they were sneaking in a quickie before they left. My nerves started kicking in just as her phone finally moved again. But they weren't coming home. Instead, they headed into town. For a second, panic gripped me. Had they changed plans? Were they spending the night somewhere else? Then I saw the street name pop up on the tracker, and I exhaled. Pizza. They were just grabbing takeout. A few minutes later, they arrived at the house. "Take these straight to the basement under the stairs," Michael told him. "I'll open a bottle of wine." "This door's the wrong way around," he called back. "Don't worry, there are plenty of keys," she reassured him. I heard the pop of a bottle, the clink of glasses on a tray. I stayed put, giving them time to settle in. I never heard the basement door close. No problem. I'd take care of that for them. I waited 10 minutes, long enough for their hands to be full, pizza, wine, and each other. Then, after double-checking I had all 3 basement keys, I grabbed the dictaphone and crept down the freshly carpeted stairs. I peeked around the doorway, and there they were. Her boss lounged on the sofa in nothing but silk boxers, swirling a glass of my best red wine. Michael, half undressed, leaned back against him as he traced slow, lazy patterns on her bare skin with the tip of his wine glass. She was nibbling on a slice of meat feast pizza. Fitting, really. But what threw me wasn't the sight of them together. It was the black stockings. The suspenders. I had never seen her wear anything like that before. Which meant she must have changed at work. The two of them sat bathed in the glow of the Christmas tree. The room was dimly lit by the soft glow of the Christmas tree. The TV was on, frozen on a paused scene from the movie they had picked. An intimate moment. The actress on screen was also wearing black stockings. "Perfect. Brought you another Christmas present," I called out, holding up the little cassette player. Their reaction was priceless. Her boss fumbled so hard he managed to slosh wine into his own eyes, rubbing at them in a panic. Michael dropped her pizza, right onto her tiny black thong. Loverboy could lick that up later. If he could find it in the dark. They both sat there, staring at me, completely frozen. I stepped forward, set the cassette player down on the floor just inside the door, and took a step back. "What the—" That was all they managed to get out before I stepped out and pulled the door shut behind me. Locked. Just to be sure, I twisted the double lock as well. I waited. Did I mention? The basement is completely soundproof. Even standing there, just outside the door, the pounding against the steel barely registered. After a couple of minutes, I figured they had scrambled to find some clothes. Then, I heard Michael trying the lock, first with her key, then with the spare. Nothing. If she had been outside trying to get in, she might have had better luck. Then there was silence. A pause. I think she must have picked up the dictaphone. And then, the panic set in. Shouting. Screaming. Banging on the door, useless and muffled. I had one last thing to do before leaving. Just outside the basement door, there was an isolation switch. I flipped it off. The house plunged into darkness. I stood there for a moment, just imagining what was happening inside. The TV? Dead. The DVD player? Off. The lights? Gone. They'd never get to see what happened next in that very special movie scene. Or any other scene, for that matter. Their phones wouldn't work. The underfloor heating? Wouldn't last more than a couple of hours. The only thing in that room still running was the little cassette player I had left for them. I climbed the stairs, and as I closed the door at the top, The silence was perfect. Couldn't hear a damn thing. Now, all that was left was to retrieve the dictaphone, ditch Michael's front door keys, and then call the cops. I already knew exactly what I'd say. "We had a huge argument, officer. She wanted me to go away for Christmas," I'd say. I told her, more than once, to make sure she had the right keys. There were two. I was planning to get the door replaced next week so it could be locked from the inside. The house was dark as I walked back to the hotel. Early start tomorrow. Catching the train to Edinburgh. "But you said he was already in Edinburgh," Michael gasped. "I told you he was acting suspicious," she snapped. "Yeah, well, too bad you didn't do anything about it," he shot back. "Great. Blame it all on me," she huffed. "Not that it's helping." "How long do you think he's gonna leave us down here?" she asked, her voice shaking. "Not long," he assured her. "He's just trying to make a point." And then the cassette clicked. A voice filled the room. "Hey, babe. Good news. Your lover boy thinks you're so hot, you'll need to find a way to keep warm. Lucky for you, the forecast says it's gonna freeze tonight." A pause. "Anyway, I'm off to Scotland now. Actually, change of plans. I'll be staying through the weekend. You know, since my mom's half Scottish, I might as well stick around for Hogmanay. I'll see you in the new year, though you won't be seeing me. Oh, and I'll be sure to give Mom your love." The new year passed quietly at 9 Blueberry Way. By January 2nd, the neighbors at number 10 had already taken down their Christmas lights. The postman stopped delivering to number 9 after letters piled up behind the door. It was Mrs. Thornton from number 7 who first raised the alarm. She hadn't seen either of the Hamiltons since before Christmas. And Michael's car? Still sitting untouched in the garage. The police showed up on January 8th. The house was empty. But nothing seemed out of place. 2 mugs sat in the sink. A bed remained perfectly made. The Christmas tree in the living room had long since gone dark. 3 days later, when the forensic team finally moved. When the forensic team finally moved the old welcome mat in the understairs cupboard, they uncovered the false floor. And beneath it, everything that had been left in the basement. The coroner's report was clear. Cause of death, hypothermia. Estimated time of death? Roughly 2 weeks prior. The male victim had tried to use the dictaphone as a tool, probably hoping to pry open the door. They found it shattered into pieces. The female victim's fingernails were broken, bloody, from similar desperate attempts. I read about it in the Edinburgh Gazette. By then, I had settled into a small flat in Leith, working a dull but steady job at a call center. Darren had moved on, too. Last I heard, he was in Spain. And yesterday, I got an email. The house had been sold. 9 Blueberry Way went for a shockingly good price, considering its history. I guess the real estate agent had the good sense not to mention the basement. After all, number 9 has always been my lucky number. I used my share of the money to buy a ticket to Prague. Alone. Never really had much interest in the Seychelles anyway. And that's the end of today's story. Did it go the way you expected? Or did it take a turn you never saw coming? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop them in the comments below, and let's talk about it. If this story kept you hooked, don't forget to hit that like button. And if you're new here, or just haven't subscribed yet, now's the perfect time to join the community. I bring you fresh, captivating stories every day. So go ahead, click that subscribe button and turn on notifications. That way, you'll never miss a story. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.